How's it going, everybody? My name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Retro Flashforward, showcasing gaming's roots in the current generation. So I'm a little late on this one, but this is a game I have been very much looking forward to covering. And, well, it's had a few patches since it came out, so it's probably was best I wait a little bit. So we are taking a look today at Fandango Remastered, which, if you're familiar with gaming history even a little bit, you've probably heard of. This is a game that is famous for being considered one of the best point-and-click adventure games of all time, and the high point of legendary point-and-click adventure game designer Tim Schafer, who currently runs Double Fine Productions. Now, I've railed on Double Fine a little bit in the past for under-delivering and broken promises and things like that. But this game was a little different. This game didn't rely on crowdfunding or early access or anything like that. This was a LucasArts game back in the day, and Disney bought LucasArts a little while ago. And somehow something happened where Tim Schafer and Disney were able to come to an arrangement to make a remastered edition of this game, which made people very, very happy. We're looking at the PC version today, but this is also out on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita, and it's cross-buy and cross-save on that system, meaning that if you buy it on one, you automatically get it on the other, and your save moves back and forth, which is pretty cool. The PC version of this, I was excited about because the original Grim Fandango was programmed with like voodoo or something, because it is an absolute bloody nightmare to get running on modern computers. I actually own Grim Fandango. I was one of the few people who bought it back in the day. That's the other thing. This is a game that is very, very highly revered among its fans, but it was a commercial failure as I understand it, or eventually became a success, but just barely. Not many people bought this. I did, and I finished it back then. Getting that version to run on a modern computer is a bloody nightmare, and just having a version that you can click and run is great. So this version of it, as a remastering goes, it's not the best. I think it could have been done better, but just getting this game in any form that runs, like if they just put out the original game and said, here's a binary that works on a modern computer, that would be good enough for me, to be honest with you. So that there's any improvements here at all is pretty nice. This game is just so amazing. It's got an incredible story, an incredible setting, great characters, great hilarious writing, exquisite voice acting. It's just an all-around top-shelf thing, and the level of uniqueness that you just have rarely seen in gaming at all, and certainly not so much these days. It's just, the creativity in this is just incredible. So the basic idea of this game, I'm not going to go too much into the story, but you're playing a guy named Manny Calavera. You're in the land of the dead. This is based on, I believe it's Mexican folklore or something like that, loosely. And basically, you have to make a journey to get to the equivalent of heaven in this world when you die. And it's a perilous journey normally, but there is this travel agency that can sell sort of advanced packages to get you there and more quickly and in more comfort. Manny's stuck here because he apparently did some bad stuff in his former life, and because of that, he has to work off his time in this sort of purgatory area before he can get to the area, and he's doing that by being a salesman for these travel packages, and he's not very good at it, and he's working with some scummy other salesmen, so he's kind of getting stuck here forever, and he's kind of down about it. And you have to do a whole bunch of stuff to try to get yourself out of here. That's really where I'm going to leave it, to talk about that.
We have a mass poisoning on our hands. Too many dead.
So as you can see here, a big poisoning has happened, which is a job that we need to get to.
So let's see some hustle out there.
All right.
You say, Hippie.
So here's where we're going to talk about the conversion a little bit. So like I said, this is not bad, but not great. So you saw there that the intro cutscene was not really remastered. It's the original one, original quality, and you can see that the background is that too. The backgrounds have not really been updated. All they've really done with this game from a technical perspective is this game can scale up to your native resolution. So I have a 1080p monitor, so that's what we're playing at. You can sort of change how that scaling works. The backgrounds and that have not been retouched. As you can also see, this was a 4x3 game originally, and it's still in 4x3. They have not anamorphically stretched the scenes or anything like that. You can do that if you want. I believe you can tell the game to run in forced widescreen, though I don't see the option here. Maybe not. Don't do that. It forcibly stretches it. It looks terrible. Don't do it. Where they have put some work into is the actual 3D aspect. So this game had 2D backgrounds, but 3D character models. So that's what Manny is here. So he looks not too bad, right? A little dated, but not too bad. Yeah, well, hang on a sec. I just got to check a key binding. Yeah, check this out. Whoa, yeah. So this is what the game looked like back in 98 originally. So you can see the shadows are much simpler. There's basically no shading on him. He's very, very jaggy and whatnot. So if you change it back here, they cleaned up the models a lot. They added a ton of incredible shadowing and shaders and things like that. And they did this to all the characters. I do think it's cool that they did this thing where you can just sort of on demand switch back and forth if you like. I think that's a neat little touch. So you can see that the difference is quite striking. I really like what they did here. I think it looks excellent. And obviously all the 3D models in this game run at 60 frames a second, which is very, very nice. I presume they do on consoles too, because this game is ancient in terms of specs compared to the modern setup. And just look at this setting. Like, look at how they do computers in this. Like, I think this is so cool. And as you can see, we can switch back here again. And like that, right? So the other major improvement that they made to this was also in the control scheme. So you see here that I'm using traditional point-and-click controls. So yeah, this didn't exist in the original Grim Fandango. So the point-and-click controls are like most games, very simple. You click around the area to move. If there's an object you can interact with, you see your cursor changes to this little burst thing. And here's your options. You can look at something.
My computer gives me instant
you can
access to
manipulate
a
it.
database of deadbeats.
And
here's Celso's file.
Let's just skip past this. And you can attempt to pick the thing up.
Not portable.
So, the way this game originally played was something called tank controls. I'm going to show you what that's like. This was I think the first adventure game to ever use tank controls. So I'm using the arrow keys here. You can use a pad as well, I believe, if you want. So you see how Manny's walking here. So I'm using my forward, back, left, and right arrow keys here. And tank controls is literally that. He walks forward with that button, and you turn him with left and right. But you see how very slow and kind of clumsy this is? Yeah, people really didn't like this back in the day. I didn't think it was that bad, but people... I beat the game this way, but people didn't dig it, and I get why. And you see it makes things a little interesting in that Manny actually turns his head to look at any objects that are usable. This is how you were supposed to find usable objects in the environment, which also made things frustrating because some of the bigger scenes, it was really hard to know that you'd gotten everything that way. Whereas with the mouse, obviously you can see, you can just sort of hover around and find everything that you want. So they've also added a third way to control it, which is called camera relative. This is much better. So what he does here is that you still use the arrow keys, but you see he's sort of walking, it's literally relative to the camera. So he walks in a direction relative to how the camera's pointing. He's much quicker, it makes turns much, much faster, and it makes it much more intuitive and quick to move around the scenes. This is kind of cool, but as you can see here, like when the camera switches, you see how it makes movement a little awkward when the camera angle changes because it's camera relative, so those controls alter per scene. I still don't think this is the greatest thing. If you're playing with a gamepad or, you know, a PlayStation controller on that system, it might work okay, but I'm for the point-and-click controls myself. Apparently on the Vita, I have not touched that version, but apparently on the Vita, you can do something like this using its touchscreen as well, which, A1, I like that very, very much. So, okay. So your idea in these games is to largely walk around, talk to people, learn things, pick up whatever objects you can in the environment.
It looks like a long day of solitaire for me.
You can hold a large number of different objects here. So you see how Manny's picked this up and now he's holding it? So now, this is also a relative thing. So now any object I use while holding something in my hand,
Deck of cards just wouldn't
he will try to interact with that object in the context of the item he's holding. So if he has an item that you need to do something with in the environment, you can try that out and click on different things in the environment until he gets the thing that he needs, right? If you want to put it away, you just click down here, and he puts it in his shirt pocket. Manny has a very big shirt pocket, so as you can see here, if you have multiple objects, you just kind of switch around in your inventory. You can examine anything that you want, and you can select anything that you want, and try to use that in the environment.
Memos are for reading and throwing away, and not much else.
So kind of neat, right? And one of the things they also added, I meant to touch on in this as well, and this can be turned on or off. There's a director's commentary mode. So you see that little Z prompt that appeared? So if you ever walk by something in a scene,
I love pneumatic tubes. If you ever
that has a commentary node, that will pop up.
There's a lot of stuff about.
So this is Tim Schafer talking here.
There was an inter-building tube system too.
Oh, really?
I don't know how that could possibly work. And the tubes were 16 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
And they would shoot pneumatic messages, like they'd push them between buildings. And none of those tubes are there, and they're thinking about like using them for fiber optics and stuff like that.
So things like that. If you're interested in how the sausage is made when it comes to games, this stuff will fascinate you. I love stuff like this. I wish more games had commentary. So it's a very interesting thing. The only thing that bugs me about that, and the audio in general is that in this game, is that they didn't, the audio was not updated, so the audio in this was relatively low quality when it was created, just because of the limitations of 1998. Maybe they didn't have the original voice assets, so they couldn't convert them to something better.
Did they pay you for that? One day?
But the thing I don't like is that like, this commentary is very low bit rate as well, and this was all recorded recently, so I think it's kind of lame.
Almost all the geometry. Oh. Wow. In some cases, it used to be an overnight render.
Like, I really don't like the fact that that's very low quality as well. I wish they'd done better with that. Maybe that's because of the limitations of the PS4 and Vita, I don't know. But this is the PC version, so, I mean, they could have kept the higher res assets in there, and I don't know why they didn't. And, like, this game is not a small download. It's a couple of gigs, at least, on PC, so I don't know why they didn't do that. That kind of sucks. So yeah, you get a big-ass warning here saying that this game does not automatically save like most modern games do. It's not the end of the world at all.
So this was the first scene in the game that we ever
This game doesn't have an arbitrary fail state like a lot of old adventure games did. So you can't get to a point in this game where if you forgot to do something earlier on, you're screwed. And you also can't really die in this game. So the only time you really need to save is when you're going to leave and come back later. So the fact that it doesn't autosave, really not an issue. Not something you really need to concern yourself with.
And we had men running up and down.
So I'm going to show you one of the things here. So you can move between scenes by clicking on that arrow. If you want to run, you double click.
I had an awful bug.
And you'll see he'll sort of sprint down there. So there is, it's a lot of environmental interaction, puzzle solving, and conversations in this game. This is kind of the main thing here. So
notice in the scene, Manny hardly ever clips behind anything.
You'll see here.
Partially because I didn't have any buffers working yet.
Oh, this is interesting. The commentary actually continues over top of other in-game conversations, so that's kind of neat.
I was kind of half-assing my way through this. I
kind of wish it would stop now, though. Can I just... Okay, I can press Z to abort that, which is good.
The Code 3 gazpacho poisoning that everybody's at but you. Why do I send out memos if nobody reads them?
And you see...
Where was the poisoning again?
Just ask your driver, for crying out loud. He'll know.
Like, the voice acting in this is so good, but you can hear that scratchy, low bitrate sound. And in this era, that is kind of a disappointment. I really wish they could have taken original assets and done better with them. But like I said, maybe they were limited about that.
I forget. Am I supposed to be somewhere right now?
Manny, do I have to explain your job to you again?
No, I just want to know where my driver is.
Do you want me to have him paged?
Yes.
Then get Don to stop being such a cheapskate and install a paging system. You're just gonna have to troll the carpool until you find a demon with a driver's license.
So yeah, I'm not going to go through all that. I'm not going to play a lot of this here. I just want to show you guys sort of the basics of this remaster and what's cool about this game. Hopefully you're learning that. Now the other thing is, this is an adventure game, an old school adventure game. So there are a lot of puzzles in this game, and a lot of them rely on what I believe Yahtzee Croshaw once called moon logic. The problem with games like this is that if you're not...
it's locked.
Is that the games were designed to be difficult and pad out their length by having really difficult puzzles that were kind of ridiculous, that you needed to solve in ways that you would never use to approach a problem in the real world at all. And this is very much like that. If you don't like either beating your head against a wall for a long time to try to figure out a puzzle solution, or have adversity to cheating your way through with, a game like this with a walkthrough, then you're probably going to have difficulty with this. One of the things that I think was a really bad omission from this game is that there's no... I'm going to go down to the garage here. One of the things I really don't like about this game is that there's no hint system in it at all. When they did the Monkey Island remastered games for the Xbox 360 a few years ago, they included the ability to get hints in the game of varying levels that would help you solve things if you didn't want to go to a walkthrough or whatever. They didn't do that here at all. And given the amount of time they spent on commentary and that, I would not have thought that was hard to do. Maybe that was a conscious design choice. Maybe they didn't want to put that in. It's not the end of the world. There are 1,000,000,001 facts for this game out there, so I mean, you can I love this. Like, look at this environment. Like, this is how they do cars.
Here's what I need. Wheels.
In this game. They're just hung up on stuff. It's so neat. This is a neat sequence here. This is a great character. This is the guy who drives for you. Hang on.
Hey, service.
Hey, who the... Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't expect... Sales agents usually don't come over to this part of the garage.
The size of this guy's mouth. It's amazing.
Hey, you a driver?
Me? Ha! No. I don't ride them, just wrench them.
I'm Calavera.
But you can hear like
Manny
the sort of
Calavera.
voices
My
clipping
name's
in that because of the
Gladys. I
old
don't get many
audio.
visitors.
It's just a real
Hey,
bummer.
I
don't
got a
want to harp on
message
that
for
too
Mr.
much.
Calavera. Your driver said that Mr. Hurley said that he could have the rest of the day off.
Domino sent my driver home?
Yeah, wasn't that nice?
Looks like I need a new driver.
So yeah, the lack of a hint system's kind of a bummer, but not a big deal. You can find your way through this, and you may very well have to. Like back in the day, I used a walkthrough for this, probably because I'm very impatient, but if you don't want to do that, you could probably spend days in some cases wandering around trying to solve different puzzles. It's tricky. Some of these are very, very weird. They involve backtracking back and forth between various different scenes, getting the appropriate objects, which sometimes requires a lot of searching around or asking people specific things. And you have to combine objects in certain different ways in order to accomplish goals. And they're kind of things where you're just like, how would you ever have thought of that if you weren't actually the guy writing the script? And that's kind of the way a lot of these games were. So you really do have to have an appreciation for that, and you have to be willing to go that route in order to get the most out of this game. Personally, I find the best way to approach these games is just whatever makes you happy. If you don't like, if you don't like to have to spend a lot of time on frustrating puzzles, if you would rather just use a walkthrough and see the cool story and the cool characters, who cares? I'm not a purist about that kind of thing. Play games in whatever way makes you happy, right? So here we are outside. Some really incredible environments here. So you can see there's sort of a festival going on here. Oh, the music in this game is so good. I actually own the soundtrack for this game. I got it as a pre-order bonus when I bought this back in the day. I still have the CD for it, and I'm so glad I have it. Tim Schafer has said that apparently they're trying to be able to sell the soundtrack for this game, but they can't right now because of weird rights crap.
What does it look like?
Which is a real shame. But the soundtrack in this game is just absolutely incredible. I can't remember the name of the guy who composed it right now because I'm a really bad person. But it's one of the best soundtracks ever made for a game. It's so good.
Birds, amphibians, famous poets. Go ahead, name one.
A dead worm.
Heck, that's easy.
Yeah, a dead worm. That's actually.
There's no limit on those.
Yeah, see how he said there's no limit on those? So yeah, stuff like this. It's really weird logic. Like, I'm going to show you one of the puzzles here, but...
My kid.
So...
Do you have any more dead worms back there?
Well, sure.
Here we go. So this is one of the puzzles. This involves like getting 2 balloon animals and sneaking into a guy's office and then filling them up with foam and all this other stuff that you have to do later. It's a really crazy thing. I'm not gonna get too far into it here, but this game is weird in a lot of ways, but it's just so charming and so endearing. It's great. But like I said, unless you plan to spend days beating your head against a wall, some of these puzzles will really confound you. And there's nothing wrong with I think cheating your way through it, and you may have to on a fairly regular basis. So, but it's a lot of fun, and it's just. Like, I just love this atmosphere. Like, I could just lose myself in this world. It's such an incredible thing. Yeah, I wish they'd done more with this remastering. This does feel, to a certain degree, like a quick and dirty job. And it probably was when Disney offered to license the rights back to Double Fine. They probably went, here you go, and you know, Double Fine has been having some problems lately with being unable to complete projects. They probably had a very limited budget to put this out, and we're just like, okay, you know, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do what we can with limited money, and we're gonna get it out. And you know what? That this is out is all that really matters to me. That we've got it in some form. Like I said, even if it was the original,
I can't find my driver.
just the original set to run on a modern platform, that would probably be good enough for me. But this is about $15 right now. And for what it is, I think it's pretty good. It's a way to experience probably one of the best adventure games ever made. Many would say one of the best games ever made, period. And I would not disagree with that necessarily.
Premium packages, our hero will be free to leave the land of the dead. Until then, he and I are stuck here having the same conversation over and over again for eternity.
What if we just skip town tonight? You and me, baby.
Well, thanks for the offer, but we'd never make it out of the city alive.
But
in one piece, I mean.
I bet I could get you out if I really tried.
Oh, Manny, look at you. You're a trapped soul and you don't even know it.
I just love, like, Manny is such a twit, but he's so...
Well,
he's so charming as well, you know what I mean? And it's just the characterization and the writing in this is just so wonderful. I absolutely love it. If you have not experienced Grim Fandango before, it's something I think almost everybody should see, unless you really hate point-and-click adventure games, like really hate them. If you only ever play one point-and-click in your life, I would say there's only 2 games I would probably recommend, and this is one of them.
Come out of the lantern already.
And it's just it's so charming and so weird and so different, and it's I really like it a lot. But we're sort of just messing around here now, but yeah, I definitely like this. I think the port could have been done a little bit better, but it's pretty solid, and they have been supporting it. You know, they've been patching the bugs out and whatnot, which is really cool. Apparently, there are some bugs that were around in the original that have actually been fixed in this, things like that, which is a good thing for sure. If you have a PS4 and a Vita, I might almost say it's worth getting it on there, just because you can have it in 2 different forms and be able to play it on, you know, on a big screen more easily. But the PC version seems fine, and you know, having a proper point-and-click interface is also very nice. I appreciate that very much. So it's good. It's one of the best games ever made, and it's a reasonably decent presentation for it. So I would recommend picking it up. This is a game that if you're interested in your gaming history, you absolutely need to play this. It's I hate this friggin' term, you know, for gaming literacy, but if you really want to be up on your historically important titles, this is one that should absolutely be on that list, and I'm very happy to see that it's come out in a modern form. For some of the gripes I do have with Double Fine, I do hope that this gives them enough success to maybe take a shot at some other stuff. I've heard, I don't know if it's actually confirmed, but I've heard a Day of the Tentacle remake is coming. I would love to see a Full Throttle remake, stuff like that. You know, it would just be incredible, and I really hope this does well enough that we can get this little revival, because honestly, I don't mind paying a second time for the real classic game, you know, the real classic titles of our history, especially the ones that it's not easy to get working in this day and age, and I'm very happy that they've made this a possibility here. So yeah, I recommend checking it out for sure. This is something everyone should see. So yeah, that is my quick little review of Grim Fandango Remastered. This is the PC version. It is available on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita as well. I wanted to just talk mostly about I don't want to talk about the game too much because the game is amazing and it's a game everyone should play. Let me just say that. I think the game is incredible, and I think this is easily the best way to play it now, and it's a reasonably good conversion of it. And I definitely recommend that. This is a game just about everybody should play with at some point in their life just to see it.
It's locked.
But don't be afraid to cheat your way through it if you need to. The puzzles are interesting,
Go through on foot.
but the
People have tried,
games
but they never
are.
came
But
back.
the puzzles are interesting, but the characters and the environment and the writing—that's what you come to these games for the most part, and that's where the real value lies in this. So, if that's the kind of thing you're into, you're gonna love this, I think, and I really recommend it for that alone. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like what you saw here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out a great deal. I don't know, I might do a retro flashback plays of this, I'm not sure. A lot of people are Let's Playing this game right now, so I don't know if it would really be worth it. People who are better at Let's Plays than me are doing it. But I might, just because it's been a lot of years and I want to play this game again. It's just, oh god, it's so good. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.